Hi, Stephen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Stephen Carlson. It's Friday, and this is Working from the Heart. Getting a little slow start today. Apologies for the screen flickering. Technology is being technology.
About the technology, it still requests me to register each time when I go to the link in WhatsApp. Maybe if I go through email, uh, it might not. I don't know. I haven't tried.
Thanks for that observation.
Perfect.
Yeah. I laugh because technology does behave like technology sometimes. It's a wonderful thing that we can all meet like this, isn't it? And yet there are these little annoying things that happen, like having to register and screens that flicker and video settings and all kinds of nonsense. But never mind, here we are, and things are apparently happening. Um, Nice to see you again, Ladislav. We had a little work last week. Is there anybody who'd like to share a gain or ask for help or ask a question, or maybe even just a nice, slow group release? Any topic.
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, I put in the chat the possibility for a group release on trusting yourself.
Trusting yourself. Okay. And is there any kind of context that you'd like to add to that, Lisa? Just curious.
Uh,
As much or as little, it doesn't matter.
yeah, it's like doing what's right for me rather than doing what I think other people around me want me to do or who to, and under that is who, you know, being who.
Yeah.
And yeah, this could now that we're already here, this could be either group or one-on-one.
So how to take the action that's appropriate for you, is that right?
Yeah.
And to have confidence doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about, well, how do you know what that is exactly? It's appropriate for you.
Well, there's been a lot of like whipping of waves and it's like trying to fit something that isn't a true fit, which just has to do with like wanting approval and stuff.
Okay, so let's play with this a little bit. We'll make it a group release, and I'm well, almost certain that each and every one of us has some aspect of these feelings. So
Yeah, it's the not letting doubt run the show, you know.
there we have it. Okay, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. No, that's a wonderful request. So just a couple words about that. Yeah, of course, is that the world is not one size fits all. What's appropriate for everybody else isn't always going to be appropriate for me or for you. And how do you know what it is that's appropriate? How do you develop that kind of trust and understanding what is the right direction? There's a wonderful word here, which is discernment. And it's that sense of knowingness, inner knowingness that the mind will spin and spin. And when it does that, we have a wonderful name for that, which is worry, well, anxiety, that's rumination. The mind will sit there and spin, trying to come up with all these possible combinations or strategies or outcomes, right? And that can keep you all night. But there's a different kind of knowingness that comes naturally, easily, and effortlessly, and that is discernment. And so knowing, Mhm. let's be careful, choosing words carefully. So as you become more and more familiar with how that knowingness uh, appears, then, at least in my experience and the experience of people I work with, that's how the confidence develops as well too. That's something that's not going to be available in the mind. However, the mind will always be working with the doubt and uncertainty. So we go into the heart. And let's do that together in a group release. And so just notice what's here and allow all to be. And just for a moment, can it be like that? Just allow things to settle. And think about what it is that you feel that you should do. Think about what is appropriate for you. It might be a particular situation, a person, place, or thing where you need to have clarity, understanding, or maybe you need to make a decision. There might be a choice. And just notice all that comes up in connection with that. So there's possible choices that you can make that might be flickering through the mind, like the flickering in the bottom of the screen right there. Because the mind is always full of those kinds of flickering distractions. And just notice whatever comes up, don't have to make it up. Usually it comes from the memory. Often there are images, sounds, even sensations associated in the body. And so just allow it all to be, whatever comes up. And so, just for now, could that be okay? Could there be space and could that be welcomed even further? Is that what is apparently happening? And check for any resistance to what the mind is doing to figure out your purpose, your direction, what's right for you. And then check and see if there's any kind of resistance, any sort of friction, any kind of wanting things to be a little easier. This might also show up as frustration or even anxiety. So just notice whatever appears. It's a wanting to control. But since that's already here, could that be all right like that? Could you just give it permission to be like that? What else are you going to do? And what if it's actually okay like that, just for now? Would you be open to that possibility? Notice also any sense that this is personal. It's all about you. It's your decision. This affects you. This is your story. Notice any sense that you might make the wrong decision, any desire for approval, disapproval, approving of yourself making the choice, approving of the choice. Whatever came up, could that just be here? And then, when you're ready, could you open even further to that and welcome it? It's here anyway, so why not just throw a party? And check and see where all this is appearing in the body. If it shows up in the torso somewhere, if there's tension in the shoulders, if there's anything that might be labeled as uncomfortable. Mhm. And open to that, allow that, give it permission. And then take a deep breath or two and just settle with that. Just settle with that and allow it. And what if you could just surrender all of this to the power that knows the way? What if you could just let go of being responsible for anything any decision, any path? What if you could just let that all go? Could you? Are you able? And would you? Are you willing? Are you willing to let this go? And when? And take a deep breath and just allow things to settle again. And what if the answer is already here? What if you don't need to do anything except for simply await until it taps you on the shoulder at the right time? Would that be a possibility? And what if this is always the case? Even if you think you've been struggling, what if the answers were always where they needed to be, even if it didn't seem so? What if this is a perfect, how shall we say, direction? Could there be openness? Could there be relaxation? Could there be guidance just for now? Take another deep breath or two. We're going to stop here. It seems appropriate. Did that, Lisa, how did that fit?
Perfection.
Hey. Well, perfection is always welcome. Nice one. Thanks. That's a really, really good request.
So
Yeah.
much.
Mhm. Well, I thought I might have seen a hand up somewhere at one point or another, unless all problems have been solved, in which case, hooray. And remember, it's okay just to share a gain as well. Oh,
It was
Richard.
mine, Steve. It was my hand.
Very good.
Um,
Nice.
So I was just saying, after you were on the releasing,
Hmm.
and you referred to it now, I love this idea. Oh, just letting go and playing my part with the higher power. The higher power knows best.
Right.
But this partnership, and it's this dance between control and letting go and allowing. And I've just been chuckling every night, every time the thoughts come. And after a couple of minutes, it just comes through. Oh, it's a story. It's a story in the endless. And also, side by side, the higher power is with me. Oh, and it's just beautiful.
That sounds like flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, then, there's something else we could play with if you're open, Richard.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So,
Why?
yeah, if there is such a thing as flow, ease, perfection, would you be willing to let go of even that and just open further?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the label. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just a quick little introduction to everybody else. So yeah. So often we come to this work seeking to solve problems, and that's also appropriate. But one thing Lester used to say is don't release in order to get high in order to release. And I don't think he was talking about cannabis. In other words, from a position or a so-called, feeling of flow and ease and perfection, what happens if you let go of that? A lot of people would like to hold on to that. But just for fun, let's all see what happens. Would you? Or could you? Could you let that go? That's the first question, Richard.
Yeah.
And would you? Are you willing to let go?
The body just said no.
perfect answer. And when?
Oh, so there's a possibility. Yeah.
Perfectly enough. Always just as best you can, and always just for now. Thank you, by the way. Those no's are always my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this gut reaction and it's the ego's force.
Well, if the answer is no, that's the answer. And so by acknowledging that, that's actually an opening and a releasing of its own.
Yeah. Because it's a blocker on the flow and it's a floodgate. Yeah.
Because it has to be this way and not that way. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one. And would you be willing to allow even more freedom? Just,
Yes.
okay. So notice whatever is here. And to the best of, as best you can, just notice it without labels, without any name or reason or history or story, just as it appears, whatever images and sounds, memories, associations, and whatever sensations, feelings, discomfort, cramp, or bliss, joy, whatever openness is. All of it just as best you can. And we'll just take a slightly different shift. Notice, if you can, is there somebody there feeling that? Is there somebody there experiencing that? Or is that simply being experienced? Being
I can
noticed?
feel myself. So I know it's false.
Well, so yeah, but notice what that is. Is that a thought, perhaps? Is that a story? Or is that just a set of bodily sensations? Is it possible that these are thoughts and feelings?
Yes, a thought and a story.
Right. And so if that's there right now, could that be allowed and even possibly welcomed?
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you find the one who feels that way?
No.
And relax into that just a little further, only as best you can. Mhm. And everybody else can follow along as well. So just notice whatever's present right now, whatever's the feeling or the thought of the moment. And whatever that is, good or bad, notice that you gave it a label, a story, a judgment, meaning, purpose. And just for now, could you let go of all of that? Would you?
Yeah.
And when? Yeah. And then can you find the one who feels that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, how is that? Just for now.
bliss.
Bliss?
It's just another label, sorry.
Well, sure. Bliss is an interesting one. Bliss. Could bliss be allowed? Whatever is present that could be described as bliss. Could there be an openness even for that?
Yeah.
Right. And would you be willing to let go of bliss just to see what lies beyond that?
Yeah.
Right. And would you let go of bliss?
Yeah.
And when?
No.
Have a breath or two. Bliss sometimes can be a little intense. Bliss can sometimes feel I've experienced bliss states that are even a little bit disturbing because they're just too good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, since it's a positive thing, we always want to try and hold on to the positive,
Mm.
and that tends to push it away. But what happens if you let go?
It just flows. Oh, just flows continually like a beautiful water.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, the vessel needs to expand and not be limited. That is
Nice.
life. Amen and thank you.
Thanks for jumping on the call and asking a great question. Or, yeah. So anything goes, folks. We could ask a question, make a remark, share a gain, or even just be in silence for a moment. Well, here's an interesting topic that just came up as an inspiration. For many of us, we live in two worlds. There's the world of the day-to-day reality, a room here, flickering screen, very good software that for all of the rest of you is filtering out the sounds of children playing outside of my door. And then wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day, whatever living situation, just notice there's that. There's the room. There might be ambient sounds from the street or from another room. There might be thoughts that tend to pass across the mind from time to time. Sometimes the mind is busy on a releasing call. And sometimes it's just the random thought here and there. But just notice whatever is present here and now. And then, for contrast, think about what we call the world. This big world of ours. We describe it in news stories, in video clips, in current events, press releases. Many of us spend a good portion of our day, or at least some time, reading up on it, watching video clips, turning on the news, or even just talking about current events with a friend. News can also arrive in terms of stock market data. It seems to be a little bit alarming these days. And the mind takes all of this and tries to put together a picture of, here we have the air quotes, the world. So notice that picture of the world presented by the media that we all, at least to some extent, share. And there may be very conflicting ideas of what the world is depending on what media we're watching. Of course there is, but nevertheless, each and every one of us has some idea of that world, the big world. So just notice whatever comes up when you think about that big world. And notice any kinds of shift in how the body feels. Could be adrenaline, could be tension, could be anything. Could be positive, could be negative. But notice how the body reacts. And notice also the mind, whatever images it serves up, whatever memories, whatever predictions it makes. And then just for now, could you open up even further to that idea of the world, this image that we've created, which is a kind of shared hallucination, kind of a shared collection of images and stories. And then shift your attention to the here and now, the reality of your room, your situation, your life, the weather outside, your concerns, your family, your friends, your story, your body, your world, your internal world, your apparent surroundings. Just notice you and notice the world that you inhabit. And take a breath. And allow all of this to settle and just to be here as it seems to be. Is this what is apparently happening? And then let's go back to that other world, the big world, the great wide world. In the newspapers, in the press releases, in the video clips, in the news stories, the current events, the latest in the war in Ukraine, whatever might be happening today in Gaza, the White House, the Kremlin, the Europeans, whichever country you live in and whatever it might be facing, whatever you consider the big wide world, that mental image that we all carry around, always different for each of us, but still there's some shared consensus. Have a breath and just let that settle. Just see what comes up. And notice how the body might shift. Notice any kinds of sensations that comes up from that. And just allow and open as best you can. Notice the mind's reactions, the images and stories. The great wide world outside, the world of the headlines, the world of the stock market numbers, the predictions, what's going to happen this year, what will happen in America, what will happen in Ukraine, what will happen in Gaza, what will happen in your hometown, in your country. And once again, just shift to the here and now, to the room that you seem to inhabit, the body that responds. Take a breath and notice the smell of the air. Notice the temperature. Notice any kinds of sounds from the next room, from the street. Notice the weight of the body on the chair, sofa, floor, however it might be supported. Take a breath and notice how the body accepts that breath. Notice. Notice even the taste in the mouth. And then move back to that mental world, the big wide world. The world that we all inhabit, the world that has a story which is disastrous usually. Or maybe not, depending. Notice the big wide world in the news, in the headlines, the video clips, and how the body reacts and how the mind reacts. And once again, notice the here and now, also in air quotes, how the body might be experiencing that room, the sensory information from the ears, the skin. And what if that's made up? So notice that you think you know where you are and what is. And just for now, could you let that go? Would you let that go? And when? Take a breath. And then think about the big world, the current events, how it fits in history, where the world is moving, what the latest announcement is, the stock market numbers, the statements, the politicians, the media, the crisis, the lack of crisis. Notice that bigger story and just allow it to fill your awareness. Notice the body's reactions to it. Notice the stories, the anxiety, any other emotions. Could be grief, could be fear. And what if all of this is made up? And what if this could just be let go? Could you let this go? Would you let this go? And when? And just notice what remains. And just for now, could you open to that and rest as that? That feels like the appropriate place to stop. That's just what came up. Well, Richard and Ajil are just two people with me on this call, and I'm okay with that. I welcome you to either one of you unmute and say hello and share again, ask a question or request support, or not. Well, I see Richard. Hi.
I'm going to release that I could not be the one to speak again because I've already spoken. But equally, I'm also
Dear, oh
going to
dear. Yeah,
that I want
right.
to give you companionship and gratitude and so of course I can come up with some games and releases to talk to you about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we don't need to fill the air. I don't mind sitting for a moment in silence, and I also don't mind ending the call a little early, is according to what's required. So, but did you have a game to share? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I do because what you're sharing, I've known what you're sharing about the world events and the passing show. I've known conceptually since I started on the spiritual path in my late teens.
Mm.
Now in my 40s, it's becoming way more real.
Mhm.
Just, tuned in with the beauty of the seasons, just whatever. There's stuff going. And I'm semi-okay with it in my own little world. And I love it. It's beautiful. Yeah. And it just feels more real to me. I don't need to worry about whatever's going on in my politics, your politics, anyone's
Yeah.
politics. And,
Mhm.
I've lived in war zones and worked in them. And I know I can still have the same beauty. As in,
Yeah.
bomb shelters, roadblocks with loads of guns. I've lived through all of that. And yes, it's been exceptionally stressful. And after doing it for 10 years, I see the debris inside me. But I
Right.
still beautiful moments. I still climbed hills and mountains and went kayaking and had rooftop dinners and enjoyed great food, and yeah, there's a camaraderie through it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And, I know whatever's going on in the world in these stressful places that are depicted,
Mm.
there's a lot of beauty and joy going on in most of these experiences too. Like sitting in a bomb shelter together, you make good friends.
It's right.
Sitting in roadblocks together, if you're with other people and you got snacks and good music, it's okay. But no, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I want to just be focusing on the that. Yeah, my gain is that. Just tuning into this inner knowing and what we do on these calls is real and it's true to me. Yeah. Right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a little bit as well. So that the news and current events, yeah, that's been quite a challenge the last couple of years because of, well, the obvious turbulence in the world that we're aware of. You say you spent some time in conflict zones, and so did I. I lived most of my life in Eastern Europe and Hungary, and witnessed firsthand the dissolution of Yugoslavia. It's one thing to talk about one's war zones, and it's another entirely to drive into Sarajevo and see the destruction of the old city, and to walk along cobblestone roads and just to look down at and see, oh wow, this is a beautiful star pattern in the cobblestone. You understand me? There's like a beautiful star pattern at my feet. And it's interesting that somehow a cobblestone road now has a star pattern there until you think about what would cause that star pattern. And you realize that, oh, okay, that was mortar fire. That was a shell. And you think about that and it feels a little different, but nevertheless, it's all the same. It means that all the things that I thought that I understood about the world from, journalism and a degree in international relations and traveling, all these things that I tried to understand from reading history, I was correct and I was also incorrect. I never had the full story. And right next to disaster, you also find kindness, don't you? It's always more than we really even thought it would be. One thing that I observe here in my circles here in the United States, where politics is very kind of alarming, is that the people around me, physically around me in the here and now, we pull together. There's that sense also. Cooking together with the neighbors, watching after each other's children, trying to provide comfort, doing a favor. These things matter even more. So I see that it's just the two of us. I think it's time for me to end this call. I've enjoyed it, but
Beautiful. I
I
agree.
hear, children outside.
Yeah. And sometimes it's time to live life, we can talk about how we're managing and the shared background between us is absolutely beautiful. International relations, law, that was my driving passion, trying to understand the world I was living in. And and now it's just time to live.
If you don't, I think I'm going to end the call, but I wouldn't mind continuing the conversation a little bit. So let me
Yeah,
just go
sure.
ahead and stop the recording right there.